Before the 73-9 Golden State Warriors ever rewrote the record books, the Chicago Bulls had already set the standard. Back in the 1995-96 season, Michael Jordan and the Bulls stormed their way to a then unthinkable 72-10 record. So just like we did previously with the Warriors' 9 losses, today we're going back to that historic 95-96 season and revisiting all 10 losses those Bulls suffered along the way. When Michael Jordan returned to the NBA in March of '95 after his brief baseball stint, it was obvious that he wasn't quite in peak basketball condition. Of course, he had his bright spots, but when the Bulls were eliminated by the Orlando Magic in the Eastern Conference semifinals, it was generally accepted that he was just rusty. But heading into the 95-96 season, everything was different. Jordan finally had a full training camp, a full preseason, and time to get his legs back under him. The rust was gone, and expectations were sky high.
And said he is in so much better shape than he was the last 6 weeks of the season when he came back last year.
Now, unlike the Warriors, who opened their historic season with a 24-0 start, the Bulls only began 5-0 before suffering their first loss. And fittingly, that first loss came at the hands of none other than the Orlando Magic, the same team that had ended their season just months earlier. What made it even more surprising was that Orlando was without Shaquille O'Neal, sidelined by a thumb injury. On paper, it looked like a clear advantage for Chicago, and early on, it appeared that way. But after the first quarter, the game flipped completely. Orlando picked up their defense, and Penny Hardaway took over, pouring in 36 points, while Jordan picked up their defense, and Penny Hardaway took over, pouring in 36 points, while Jordan finished with 23 on an inefficient 8 for 20 shooting night. Orlando pulled away for a 94-88 win, leaving people wondering if Chicago's playoff loss the year before wasn't just about rust. Maybe the Magic really were better. Then again, the Bulls were without Dennis Rodman. Chicago responded by winning another 5 straight games, before running into the team that they would eventually face in the NBA Finals, the Seattle Supersonics. The Bulls built a solid lead after the first quarter and extended it even further by halftime.
And they have just sucked the oxygen out of this building.
I mean, the Bulls look in mid-season form. I mean, they're 10-1. Jordan looks so much better than he did the last 17 games in the playoffs of last year.
But the second half told a very different story. Seattle played nearly flawless basketball, while Chicago completely stalled, scoring just 11 points as a team in the third quarter.
Seattle trailed by 18 in the second quarter. I thought they were done.
Jordan struggled, shooting 6 for 19 and finishing with 22 points.
Well, defense is the name of the game in the NBA, and the Sonics have shut down Michael Jordan. 1 of 7 shooting for Michael in the second half.
With 25 seconds remaining, Gary Payton came up with a crucial steal on Jordan, a moment that felt like early foreshadowing for what would become a major storyline in the finals later that year. Payton led Seattle with 26 points, and Sean Kemp had 25, as Chicago took their second loss of the season.
Game over! The game is over! So the Sonics have handed the Bulls their second loss of the year.
Carry a 13-game winning streak into Christmas, improving to 23-2. The day after Christmas, they traveled to Indiana to face the Pacers for the first time since Jordan's famous I'm Back game. Chicago came out sluggish, and Indiana took full advantage, building a 19-point halftime lead. The Bulls made a push in the second half.
Pippen a steal. MJ with the hammer. Yes, sir. 9-point game. 70-61 now as the Pacer fans start to boo. It has not been pretty, but the Bulls have clawed their way back to within 6.
Jordan scored 30 points, but needed 28 shots to get there, and Scottie Pippen added 26 of his own, but it wasn't enough.
Johnny, you made the point about Thanksgiving earlier in the loss to Seattle, and now the next one comes after Christmas. Maybe they just don't like the holidays.
Rick Smits led Indiana with 26 points. Reggie Miller chipped in 20, and Chicago came up short.
And the Indiana Pacers end the Chicago Bulls' 13-game winning streak. Bulls were trying to tie the record at 14, but just couldn't quite get it done. The franchise record of 14 straight.
But it's okay, because that loss would spark a franchise-best 18-game winning streak. 18? By February 4th, heading into a matchup with the Denver Nuggets, the Bulls sat at an incredible 41-3 record. This was the point where people started seriously talking about the possibility of 70 wins. Denver entered the game at 18-26 and was widely expected to be overmatched, but they had other plans. The Nuggets caught fire in the first half, led by Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who scored 23 points before halftime.
We had a unique player, obviously not the status of Michael or Scottie, but we had a unique player of our own who you had to deal with on the offensive end. That was Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Come here.
Denver stunned Chicago by taking a 31-point lead in the second quarter.
31-point lead.
You would ask me that we would have a 31-point edge on the Michael Jordan-led Chicago Bulls. I'd say you'd be insane, but that's exactly what we did.
But the Bulls refused to go quietly. They stormed back in the third quarter, outscoring Denver 39-16, with Jordan accounting for 22 of those points himself.
We threw everything at him, and if I remember correctly, I think he went for 22 or 24 in the third quarter alone. Part of you is kind of like, uh-oh.
Somehow, Chicago grabbed the lead in the fourth, but Denver would respond with a 15-5 run late in the game, pulling off one of the biggest upsets of the season.
That's the end of the streak. That's what Buddy gave him 30. That's crazy.
The Chicago Bulls club record 18-game winning streak. Biggest victory in recent history for Denver. Arguably one of the biggest in the history of the franchise.
That was the biggest win for them in history of their franchise at the time. It's beating us.
2 days later, the Bulls were in Phoenix, and shockingly, they lost again. Charles Barkley dominated with 35 points and 16 rebounds.
His team goes 41-3 to start the season, and they lose 2 in a row. That just shows you about this NBA. It's tough. They ran into a very hot Denver team, and now they ran into a Phoenix Suns team with a lot of emotion. That's the battle they're going to have all year, Vern, trying to prove everybody's going to be trying to gun down this team.
Chicago actually had a 16-point lead early in the second quarter, but the Suns controlled the rest of the game, handing the Bulls their 5th loss of the season and their first loss by double digits.
The first time this season that the Chicago Bulls have lost by 10.
But they're not just going to cakewalk through the NBA like everybody thinks they are.
Ooh, Charles Barkley was talking crazy, huh?
At that point, all 5 of Chicago's losses had come on the road, and the next one would too. On February 23rd, the Bulls entered Miami with a 48-5 record. The Heat were shorthanded.
12 guys for the Chicago Bulls, a full team around Phil Jackson. The Miami Heat, it looks like a small gathering of friends, doesn't it?
But Rex Chapman played the game of his life, torching Chicago for 39 points, while hitting an absurd 9 of 10 from beyond the arc, all while trash-talking Michael Jordan. The Bulls mounted a late fourth-quarter comeback and had plenty of time to steal the win, but Miami
Rex Chapman? He let Rex Chapman talk crazy to him? Michael Jordan?
He held on. Chicago bounced back with 6 straight victories, highlighted by Jordan dropping 53 points on the Pistons, before heading to New York 3 days later to face the Knicks.
And they have come in at 54-6, a record 70 wins, very much in sight, while the Knicks struggling at 34-26.
Now, Michael has been feeling very good as of late, 53 points the other night against Detroit. I asked him about that last night. He said, you know, coming into New York, I feel like maybe 55. I asked him again this morning. He said, you know, the speed limit has changed. I feel more like 60.
I feel more like 60. Now, Jordan was talking crazy. Bro, imagine that. Imagine you heard the reports of your player you about to play against. Say he's going to give you 55, 60.
60 is the speculation from Michael Jordan.
But he would only score about half of that, and only had 2 other teammates reach double figures. New York, meanwhile, had 6 players score in double digits. Aside from a brief Chicago lead in the third quarter, the Knicks controlled the game from start to finish, handing the Bulls their 7th loss in convincing fashion.
It's the worst defeat of the season for the Chicago Bulls.
We came out and we knew what we had to do. We got it done. You know, last time we played the Bulls, Scotty was talking a lot of trash that Madison Square Garden was his house. Well, we had to let him know that it's still ours.
About a week later, Dennis Rodman headbutted a referee after what he believed was an unfair ejection. Now, the Bulls still beat the Nets that night, but Rodman was suspended for 6 games, a costly blow during their chase for 70 wins, especially with Scottie Pippen already sidelined by injury. That absence was felt on March 24th against the expansion Toronto Raptors in their inaugural season.
The rock stars were in town. Michael Jordan and the Jordanaires were in town. Everybody wanted to see that dude play, especially that season.
Chicago entered the game at 60-7, while Toronto sat at 17-49. No one expected drama, but they got it. The Bulls trailed by 1 with just under 20 seconds remaining, but couldn't convert on their final possession.
What a clutch Jordan at? What a Jordan clutch G?
5 seconds. Pippen will have
What a Jordan clutch G?
Steve Kerr. No.
What a Jordan clutch G?
And the
Toronto Raptors have pulled it out. They've done it. The Toronto Raptors have done it. They have beaten Michael. They have beaten Michael.
Damon Stoudemire led the upset with 30 points as Toronto shocked the basketball world.
Think about it. They lost 10 games all year, and one of them was to an expansion team.
They played as well. Yeah, you have to give them credit. And expansion team, man. Once again, this is not an expansion team.
You know, it's no big deal. We're still 60-8. We're in good shape.
I don't think there could have been a more important regular season game.
We won 21 games, but that game, you know, you never forget it.
Chicago recovered by winning 6 straight games before an April 8th matchup with the Charlotte Hornets.
And again, on the line, a 44-game winning streak in the regular season here at the United Center. An unblemished 37-0 mark here at home.
MJ poured in 40 points, but Charlotte relied on a more balanced team effort. The Bulls had multiple chances to win late, but couldn't capitalize.
No, the tip Rodman, no, the tip Jordan, no. The Charlotte Hornets have defeated the Chicago Bulls, snapping a 44-game winning streak by the Bulls on their home floor, and does what no foe has done till now. Beats the Bulls in the United Center.
Thankfully for Chicago, that sting faded quickly. Just over a week later, they secured their 70th win against the Milwaukee Bucks, surpassing the 1972 Lakers, a massive milestone and a huge weight off their shoulders.
But I must admit, we didn't start the season and say, hey, we're going to win 70 games. We start the season and say we're going to win a championship. We're halfway there right now.
Are you glad it's over now that the 70 is attained?
Yeah, I'm glad. And now we can, focus on the playoffs, which is the most important thing right now.
Still, one goal remained, the most home wins in a single season.
Not many goals remain. There is one record on the line today. Chicago trying to equal the Boston Celtics' best home record of all time.
Only the Pacers stood in the way during Chicago's final home game. Indiana was without Reggie Miller, making it seem like a formality, but it wasn't. The Bulls trailed by 8 with just under 2 minutes left, until Eddie Johnson made a critical mistake.
I remember standing at the free throw line and I looked at it. I said, why don't you go sit down? The game's over. I said, y'all not getting this record. And he looked at it. We were up 8 points with about a minute and a half left. The next minute, I'm telling you, he played like it was game set.
He decided to trash talk Michael Jordan before the game was officially over, and his Pacers teammates were visibly unhappy during a timeout.
And all of a sudden, it was a 1-point game. So Larry Brown called timeout. And we go to the bench. And I think one of my teammates said, did you say something, MJ? I said, yeah. I told the game was over.
Done.
And Larry Brown heard it, and Larry was like, why would you do that?
For the next minute and a half, he lost his mind.
But Indiana managed to survive, aided by a controversial call on Jordan at the buzzer.
I hit 2 free throws to seal the victory, and he was just mad. And he was walking off the court, and he and I was like crossing paths. I said, man, what is wrong with you? And he said, just be careful what you ask for.
The Pacers escaped with the win.
Crazy, bro. How can you call that when you are an employee? Well, you're an employee of the NBA, but you working at the United Center right now, bro. Stop playing. But you can't call that on Jordan, bro. You can't call that on Jordan. You can't do it. That's crazy, bro. But hey, that's crazy.
Ending Chicago their 10th and final loss, and becoming the only team to beat the Bulls twice that season. With that defeat, Chicago finished 39-2 at home, just 1 win shy of the Celtics' all-time record. The very next night, the Bulls closed the season with a win, finishing 72-10, an NBA record at the time. Now, did you guys notice that Chicago's final 3 losses all came by just 1 single point? If a few moments swing differently, we might be talking about a 75-7 Bulls team. And with Steve Kerr missing a potential game winner in their 8th loss, you could say that he unknowingly helped the future Warriors eventually surpass the Bulls record.
What you guys just accomplished is incredible. I honestly thought nobody would ever beat that record.
Now here are some interesting facts. Kevin Garnett is the only player in NBA history to have played against both the 72-10 Bulls and the 73-9 Warriors. The Denver Nuggets are the only team to beat both of them. And it's crazy to think that Michael Malone has a win over the 2016 Warriors, while his father, Brendan Malone, has a win over the 96 Bulls.
What? They both got a win. That's hard.
when he was the head coach of the Raptors, which we talked about that game earlier. There were small differences between the Bulls and Warriors' record-breaking seasons. Golden State never lost back-to-back games, and they didn't lose twice to the same opponent like Chicago did. But the Bulls would gladly make that trade because they finished their season with a championship, something the Warriors couldn't do.
Yeah, dang, the Warriors didn't lose back-to-back games? I didn't know that. Well, I do know that. I'm lying. I did know that. That's crazy, though, bro. I ain't gonna lie. What team y'all think is better? Who y'all think is better? 7-3-9 Warriors, 7-2-10 Bulls, man. Who do y'all think is better, bro? I'm gonna have to give it to the Bulls, gang. I'm gonna give it to the Bulls. If you put KD on the Warriors, I'm going KD. I'm going the Warriors. But without KD, I'm going Bulls. I ain't gonna lie. I'm going Bulls. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it 100, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. And I'm saying on this one, man. No bad.